Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm bringing you a little bit of a different video. And as you can see, it is actually my first tier list to ever happen. I just kind of wanted to do one, not gonna lie. After we have seen quite a few tier lists recently again, from obviously players that are mostly a lot better than me, but of course, I have my own opinion on a lot of those divisions, which I don't know, might be sometimes controversial, sometimes not. We will see what you think about it. I have also added like a special tier. You will see why. I might also add another tier throughout this. I'm not sure. I will also try to put the divisions in those tiers in order of like what's better and worse. So the further it is to the left, the better it is in the tier. The further to the right it is, the worse it is in the tier. So yeah, let's go. I haven't thought about it too much, by the way, before doing the video, so it's gonna be possibly a lot more rambly than you're already used to from my videos. So, strap in. That's gonna be a wild ride. So let's start with like the BS tier, just because I call it BS because it's bullshit, and you already know who it is. It's gonna be 5E and where is it? 56Y. And I do actually think that 56Y is even better. I don't think I need to explain it that much. Most people already know, but for the people that don't know, because I know that some people watch this channel that might not be too deep into the whole competitive 1v1 scene. The problem with those divisions is, well, let's start with 56Y because they're actually pretty different, but both unbelievably broken. 56Y is a division that has pretty much endless amounts of BMP2s that also get free veterancy. So you can even take them a double vet. Then you don't have literal endless amounts, but you still have a lot of them. And enough for most games if you don't just ooga booga them into a push and lose them all. On top of that, your infantry is pretty decent. Decent to good, actually, in the BMP2s. And then you also have the high HP infantry squads that are like, I think, 12 HP, which are actually insane because they also get free veterancy, and we know that high HP infantry squads are already very good. And if you then put free veterancy on top of them, that just makes them better. You have a small but actually pretty deadly tank tab because the tanks once again get free veterancy. The T62, the standard one, is like meh, but the one with the Bastion ATGM is again pretty. It's not even really deadly because the Bastion ATGM itself isn't that good, but it just has high range, and it adds to the whole ATGM boarding you can already do with your BMPs and also the infantry ATGMs, obviously. You have a very strong opener with Recon BMP2s, which also get free veterancy, of course. The Spetsnaz GRU with the Stinger, which is not a good fighting squad, but with the Stinger you have forward deployed AA on a squad that, if you have two of them together, they are still pretty strong. Well, because the Recon, they can also just have the Recon utility. They have it, yeah, well, because the Recon, obviously. And they also get an automatic grenade launcher on their Jeep. So it just has basically everything you would ever want from a division and more in insane numbers and for extreme good value, because the BMP2 is so underpriced, especially because of its 4 frontal armor. It can tank so much damage, and a 10 HP, of course. You might say, if you don't know that much about it, you would think that, well, I mean, the air tab isn't that great, and the AA tab isn't that great, but it doesn't matter. You get forward deployed max vet stingers, or at least 2 vet, which are pretty good. Then you also get, well, Iglas they aren't that good, but with the price buffs they have gotten a few patches ago, they are still they are pretty valuable, pretty cost efficient. Let's put it like that. And a straight out to them is a very good AA piece, honestly. And then together with the MiG-23s, which you can get 6 of if you take all the 3 cards, that's just a shit ton of stuff to go through. And then you also get the MiG-27 AT plane, which is the same cost as an Su-22 AT plane, but it's just straight up better because it also gets a 30mm Gatling gun and twice the R60s for like no reason. for the same cost. And then if you look at 5E, again, if you look at it like from a how do you say that, armory warrior armchair general point of view, it might seem like it's not that great because your tanks, they're like cheap, but they're also not that good, and you only get them, you don't get any like heavy tank cards or whatever. But the problem is that your tanks are extremely cost efficient, as I've also shown in my videos. They are very, very cheap for what they can do, because their armor is bad, but their gun is actually pretty good and max range. And with the autocannon, they can absolutely shred infantry. And on top of the good infantry that you have yourself in the division, you just flood the field with stuff, to put it bluntly. And then you have a pretty decent AA tab. Your air tab is good but expensive, so that's at least something. You have one of the best artillery pieces in the game with the AMX of 1. So it's just extremely painful to fight against, and especially the AMX 10 RCs, which can rush positions very early on, because those are just recon tanks that are wheeled, so they're very, very quick and have very good guns with good accuracy, and are like borderline invisible unless you have recon right in their face. It's unbelievably painful to fight them. It's possible. We have seen 5E get defeated in League, but like it's either because it's played in like super low leagues, though I can't remember if we actually had one of those games where it was played in the lower leagues where people just don't really know what to do with it. I know that we had games in Division 1 where people lost with 5E. And well, I also recently lost with 5E in the FOB tournament because I just played it badly. So this has also to be said, like those divisions aren't unkillable, but they're incredibly strong. I mean, I've also shown defeating 56Y with Force Mech, so there's that. So after getting those out of the way, let's just go through those divisions in order that they are here. I don't think there's like a big sense to them. Oh no, I think they're by nation actually. By the way, thank you to Hippie for doing the tier list. That's very nice. Yeah, they are in order of the nation, I think, at least. Yes, they are. Okay, well let's go. Starting with 4E, yeah, absolutely S tier division. Again, remember, S tier not the same as the BS tier for me. Very important. And I think that anybody who says otherwise is just massively coping. I'm sorry, Skiffic, but you're just wrong. This division isn't low A tier or whatever. It's absolutely insane. You have the CNV opener, which is an LAV for half the price. Yeah, sure, it's a little bit slower and has less machine guns. Yeah, well, nobody cares. Medium machine guns are borderline useless anyway. Like, they're nice to have, but they're not something that will actually win you the game or something. So the CNVs are absolutely cracked. You get 2 cards of them, 4 per card. So it's not only that it's half the price of the LAV, it also has more availability while having very close performance, and just straight up being in a way better division. The Leopard 2A4B has a disadvantage of being only having 60 front armor. That is true. Which, if you don't know, that means that it gets one-shot by 30 AP missiles, which is all the air-to-ground anti-tank missiles that we have in game. Oh, I think actually every one of them is 30 AP. So this is obviously pretty painful, but on the other hand, you get a good gun, a very good gun actually, a very mobile tank, quite a lot of them. You also get a card of Leopard 1s if you want some early aggression. The YPR now is actually pretty valuable and pretty cost efficient with the price buffs it has gotten, just like the infantry. And if you take them a double vet, you get still enough of them to flood the field and completely wreck everybody. YPRs don't have ATGMs, but the Bushmaster is still an absolute beast. And you kind of, if you know this disadvantage and play around it, you can just overwhelm your enemies before they can get an ATGM overall of their own with their IAVs going. And the idea is kind of to overwhelm them with the YPRs and have the Leopard 2A4s in the back sniping away. You also get one card of the Leopard 2A4C, which is an absolutely amazing tank. And then you also get a very cracked air tab with the F5s that have 10 HP for no particular reason and 20% ECM. which also doesn't make a lot of sense, and have an insane bomb load. And if you want to take the rocket planes, you can also get like very cheap air support very early on, which again has 10 HP and 20% ECM. And F-16s that actually do damage because they have a reasonable bomb loadout. And M110s, of course, the best artillery in the game. So there's that. And you also get GSR infantry, of course. But honestly, this is just like the cherry on top. The rest of the division is just cracked. So this division is extremely good. And they also, by the way, if you want like more infantry, you can still take the reservists that you have. I've forgotten how they're called. But the Dutch reservists, they're also pretty decent, and they get 50 cal M113 together with them. So yeah, in my opinion, absolutely S tier division. Now we go to the Belgians, the 16th Panzer, which is like a tank division that's an infantry division. And I honestly think it's like, at this point, it's, I think, high C tier, maybe low B tier, I don't know. The problem is, you have very good light infantry with the Fusiliers that have 3 machine guns. They're super cracked. That's for sure. And you have forward deployed infantry for early rushes. The problem is that your forward deployed infantry is pretty bad. You don't get the forward deployed AA anymore with the 50 cal, with quad 50 cal trucks that lost their forward deployment, because I guess it's for historical reasons, but I think for game theory reasons that was completely unnecessary. You have Mistrals and Gepards for AA. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to say that about 4E. Although, of course, you also get the upgraded Cheetahs, the battery Gepards, and Eyehawks, which 16 doesn't get. So you have Mistrals and Gepards, which are also decent air defense, but it's not the best. If you get unlucky with the Mistrals, they can be bombed very easily, and your air tab is also good but expensive, and then your tank tab obviously consists of only Leopard 1s, which are okay, but overall you don't have anything heavy to like have a good basis for your pushes, you know? Like you can try to overwhelm your enemies with the Leopard 1s and YPRs and infantry or whatever, but it's just, if you're playing against 16, you know that this is the only thing they are able to do, and then you can just air bully them if you have the right division, obviously. Because the Mistrals and the Gepards, if you get rid of them, which you can do fairly easily, more easily than with other AA pieces, it will get really, really, really rough. And even if you don't get rid of them, like bombing away a few key Leopard 1s or infantry squads that are pushing you can already be enough. And if you get an open map, for example, you're just dead with 16. There's not much you can do. You kind of can play around with smoke, for example, but overall, I want to like the division, but after also trying it out a bit myself, there's just something missing, because the forward deployed isn't good enough to actually hold anything. Then with the infantry coming up is good, but it's like still not good enough to win against an actual infantry division. Against tank divisions, you kind of just don't have you have the same fire support IFV wise, more or less, but your tanks are just massively worse, and you don't get the ATGM spam that other divisions can get that are, you know, infantry divisions. But I think it's still more lower B tier division. It's just, to be fair, also when I played it last time, I got 2 games against 76Y, which is like the worst matchup you can get because it just straight up air bully you and there's literally nothing you can do against it. So this was obviously specifically bad. So yeah, I think it still can be used, but it's just the question is why. It's a bit sad. So maybe some price buffs or better forward deployed. I don't know. But just not the best division right now. Gonna leave the hippie to the end. Let's go with first UK. Also absolutely S tier division in my opinion. I don't know whether it's better than 4E or not. I think they're pretty similar. Like First Armored is like underrated, has been underrated just forever. It's still underrated by some people, and I really do not understand why. Because this division is absolutely insane right now. You get Challengers, Challenger Mark IIs that have been buffed just for no reason at all. Because, like, I don't get it why. They were already a good tank before. They weren't the best tanks, but like they were decent enough. Like not decent, they were good tanks. Yes, you didn't have the best firepower, but you were really, really tanky. That's the whole trade-off of the tank. It has good armor, but less firepower. And now it, like, obviously it still doesn't have the best penetration. It wasn't buffed, but because of the higher availability in First Armored, you can just take them on top of it, which makes them so much more deadly, and you can still get a lot of them. And then you get it with the Challenger Mark III, which is an absolute beast, and the Warrior Pleeks, which are one of the best IFVs in the whole game, because they can take insane amounts of damage, and have the Milan 2, which makes them the only IFV within Milan 2, if I'm not completely mistaken. They just cracked. It's insane. And the infantry you get with them is also pretty good. It's double machine gun and 5.56 caliber, so it's actually, you know, it has damage output, not like the 7.62 weapons. The other infantry you get is also good, like the rifles or the pioneers are very good. You have a decent recon tab. You can also play it with forward deployed infantry if you want to. And the forward deployed Milan 2s are pretty much like, you kind of have to take them. I guess unless you want to take the standard Milan 2 with the Spartan, or however it's called, the double Milan 2 vehicle. But normally you take the forward deployed Milan 2 because it's just such an advantage to have. Then you have also Foxes and Scimitars to support your early aggression if you want to. Chieftain Mark 9s, which are also like delete machines at double vet, if you micro them correctly. And the air tab is still good. Like, it was obviously massively nerfed, which was fair, but the Tornadoes are still very, very good bombers. And the Tornado fighters are also extremely good. DAA isn't the best, but you have to remember that it's also unseatable. So for that, I think it's usable enough. And yeah, I just think the division is very, very, very good. And then let's go to second UK. I would still say it's better than both of those divisions. It's also an extremely good division because it also benefited from the Challenger Mark II buff, which in itself was already super dumb and gets even more unnecessary if you think about how, or remember how second UK was already one of the best divisions in the whole game before the Challenger buff. So if they wanted to buff first UK, why didn't they just buff the Challenger Mark III? That would have made the most sense. They chose pretty much the only unit that both those divisions have, except for, yeah, maybe the Gazelle rockets, for example, or the Lynx Hell Arms. But other than that, the Challenger Mark II is one of the few units they have in common, and they buffed that one. So second UK now gets even more tanks. It also has warriors, not the warrior pleeks, to be fair, so that's at least something. But the standard warrior is still like a decent IFV, and considering that it's supposed to be an infantry division, getting 2 IFV cards is very useful. You have one of the best infantry squads in the whole game with the SAS. That it's quite some time ago that it was buffed, because if you can't remember, quite some time ago, SAS only had submachine guns. So they at least had some drawback because they couldn't engage at range. Now the SAS has 2 machine guns. You might say, it's actually kind of not that much of a buff because you don't want to engage at the distances. But the thing is, a double machine gun will still help you out, because a double machine gun has a big damage output, and because it's double machine gun special forces max veterancy, on their own they still have an actually decent damage output. So yeah, I don't know. I think it would have been better if they just kept the SAS with only the submachine guns, to be fair, but whatever, they were buffed. And the other infantry you get is also very good, like the Pioneers in the air mobile Pioneers is an insanely good squad that also comes in the Chinook, which makes them actually pretty survivable at being dropped close to the front. You don't want to like risk it too much, but you can take the risk. Then you have the air mobiles in the Lynx rockets, which together with your heli tab gives you pretty insane heli spam. It's obviously only light helis, but the Lynx rocket has 6 HP, so it survives in manpads. So they're actually decently survivable still. I mean, it has the same HP as a Cobra. Yeah, I'm not mistaken. They have also 6 HP. Airtip is decent. You have the F4s, which are not the best, but they're extremely cost efficient in my opinion. They're lacking the gun, but you don't really use the gun that much in air-to-air fighting, so it makes them worse in anti-helicopter, but in air-to-air it actually just makes them better because you pay less for them. And their missiles are okay. The bombers you get are good. The AA you get is also pretty good. It has limited range, but in the medium to short range AA, you're pretty much the best division in the whole game. You're up there with maybe a few other divisions, but I would still say you're the best because you have the max vet stingers on the SAS and the Rapier FSB 2, I think it is the radar Rapier FSB has insanely high accuracy, especially if you take them like at 1 vet or double vet. Very, very good. It's like a stationary OSA basically. So I have forgotten something. In the artillery, you have the M107, and I think that's good because if they would get an actual M110, it would be completely ridiculous because the M107 is significantly worse actually than the M110, but it's still very good. Like, do not underestimate that. And you can also still take the Mars with the cluster if you have enough activation points. And that thing is still good. It's not the best because it's fairly expensive, but it can help you facilitate a push, for example, against an armored division where they're hiding all their tanks just in some forest patches, and you drop a Mars on them. Even if it doesn't kill them, it makes it very risky for him to engage your units. So yeah, my opinion, 2nd UK, one of the most broken divisions in the whole game. 4th Armored, honestly, I can't say too much about it because I think I still haven't even played it once because it's just pretty bad. But I actually don't think it's the worst division because I saw some people making it work. Obviously, you know, the best people in the game can make basically every division work. That's not the point. But in the sense of they made it work in a way that, you know, seemed reasonable. That wasn't just like, I don't know, Skific having 5 billion APM and being able to control every unit on the field at the same time, where it like doesn't even matter what division he plays. It's like if you can get, for example, an armored blob early on and get good engagement. Well, I mean, you have an armored blob early on because your tanks are cheaper, but if you then micro it well and just ooga booga one flank, you can catch your enemy off guard. And then you still have good air. You don't have any sea, that's annoying, but you still have exceptional bombers. You have decent infantry. Your tanks are okay-ish. It's just that you kind of don't have anything particularly good. And you're also not very fast. Stahl told me recently that he thinks that maybe they should switch the Terrier Paras from 1st UK to 4th Armored. I think it would be actually a good idea because like 1st Armored is already the best division, one of the best divisions in the whole game. They don't need the extra forward deploy, so maybe that would be an idea. But yeah, they also get the Darkfire, right? If I'm not completely mistaken. Tell me in the comments if I'm completely dumb right now. I hope I'm not. So that's also exceptionally good AA piece. It's just that it really doesn't save the division from suffering against the meta divisions because it also critically lacks IFVs, which is a bit. It's if you lack IFVs and don't have very good tanks, that kind of already puts you very low in the division rating. Now let's go to Berlin Command, the NATO one. Again, a division that I have never played myself. So yeah, remember this is like my personal tier list. Okay, so I can do whatever I want and rate divisions that I have never played. I have just played against it a few times. I guess 80% of the time it was Pasta that played this division. I don't know. It's like it's not very bad, but it's also not very good. I guess it's like high C tier. I mean, it's better than 4th Armored. It's hard to judge, right? Because if I never played those divisions, maybe I should play them in the near future. Maybe I will try them out. But the thing is, you have the Nighthawk, but as you saw in the last video, The Nighthawk apparently can't even kill T-72s. I still haven't asked, by the way, whether this was like actual RNG fucking over pasta or whether this is as it's supposed to be. So I still don't know. Maybe it can kill them, and I was just extremely lucky. But even then, if I would have had fighters up, pasta's like ability to use them would have been even worse. It can still work. They can still sneak by fighters if you're unlucky because they are surprisingly hard to spot, funnily enough. But the problem is then the ones you have spotted them, they're most likely dead. And on the ground, you have good infantry and actually a decent tank tab. But again, no IFVs. The infantry is good, but you actually don't get that much of it, of the good infantry, and it's fairly expensive. So honestly, I think Berlin Command is actually a decently balanced division, but the problem is that a lot of the divisions right now aren't decently balanced, so that makes it instantly very bad. Like, if a lot of the S tier divisions would be worse, we could put Berlin Command up to like high B tier or even maybe low A tier if they also would get some small buffs. But other than that, it's still C tier, especially because it just can be airbullied insanely easily. Unless you're me and your 30% ECM planes get like double tapped by manpads, but then your 10% ECM MiG-21s survive for some reason. Yeah, like unless you're like giga unlucky with the manpads, you can air bully the division very easily because it only has manpads and the rapiers now as well, the FSB ones, the worst ones. So the situation has improved, but it only has Harriers for fighters. So this is completely atrocious. And the outside of the Nighthawk, the air taper isn't also that great. So yeah, let's not talk about it too much. I don't even know that much about it. Let's go to MNet. MNet, a division that I actually like a lot. I haven't played it in quite some time. I wanted to play it recently. Then I forgot about it. Maybe I should do it. But overall, I think it is. Let's put it in a high B tier, I guess. Maybe low A tier. I don't know. Let's think about it. So you have the Darkfire, which is already pretty nice because this makes you pretty much the Airborne division with the best AA in the game. Then obviously on the other hand, your fighters are pretty bad because you only have 2 cards of shotgun fighters, which is kind of annoying. Especially with stress on miss, shotgun fighters have been severely neutered. But like they're not useless, don't get me wrong. They just aren't particularly good if you only have those. Then the infantry tab is pretty good. The Gurkha rifles are absolute beasts. Now I've seen, for example, a wooden box play with the Gurkha AT groups in helicopters and try to sneak them around and drop them in your enemy's spawn, basically, because they have double law 80s, which should be pretty insane. And then getting rid of them is very hard. You can also play around with the recon jeeps. I forgot how they're called, and try to get them around the flanks into your enemy's backline. We have the Milan 2 jeep, they have 50 cal jeeps, and then also the ATMP or whatever, the little vehicle with the Javelin LML on top. If you get this combo in the backline of your enemy, there's pretty much nothing they can do because you have the LML to defend against helicopters, the 50 cal to defend against infantry, and then the Milan 2 to fight against tanks. Our problem is if they can run out of ammo pretty quickly, and then you're kind of fucked. That's obviously bad. But other than that, it's pretty good. You have actually pretty decent fire support in your tank tab with the scimitars and the weasels. You can also do some funny memes with the weasels and drop them in your enemy's backline with helicopters. So this is a bit of a meme. I don't think that is actually a meta strategy, but it can be fun. Not gonna lie. I haven't done it myself, but I've seen it a few times, and it seems to be quite hilarious. Just be all over your enemy's backline with some weasels. Get insane amounts of ATGMs. So, it's pretty pretty okay. The LGB is just sad because it can't do anything after the LGBs were neutered. I just don't think LGBs, the LGBs that drop one bomb per drop and R and the SU-24 are just, they're just so incredibly inefficient. You have to take two of them. You have two because of one per card, and then you can't even kill tanks with them. You can't even kill the highest HP infantry squads with them as well if they're in cover. So I would rather take the other bombers and planes you have. But they're in Memnet, they're also still decent, the other planes you have. So overall, middle of the road division. Maybe it's even low A tier, honestly. Yeah, I think I would put it in low A tier because I think it's actually better than the Belgians because it just has the early tempo because of obviously being airborne and forward deployed and stuff like that. Also, you have recon scimitars, which is honestly very useful in my opinion for some early fire support, if I'm not completely mistaken at least. So yeah, now third armored. That's a rough one. I know that a lot of people have become very skiffic pilled, where it's basically like, does a division have insane amounts of forward deployed autocannons? If yes, then it's good. If no, then it's literally unplayable. And I do think that it's dumb. Having good forward deployed and like heavy forward deployed equipment is obviously good. Just because you don't have it doesn't mean that you're instantly useless. And technically also third armored has forward deployed autocannons with the Bradleys, but you don't want to like spam them because they're very expensive and you don't get a lot of them. But overall, I think third armored is still also A tier, not like high A tier, but I still think it's A tier. Bradleys are still absolute beasts. They're expensive, so you want to micro them as much as you can, but they are very good. Especially the M2A2s with their extra armor are extremely useful and dangerous. The M1A1HA is one of the most efficient tanks in the game. It has to be microed well, of course, but like that's true with most of the stuff in the game. The M1A1 itself is like an okay tank. It's not the best, but it's okay. Your infantry is kind of shit, the one you get with the Bradleys. But you also get high HP infantry with the what are they called now? I think they're not the aircraft troopers or whatever, like the helicopter infantry, which is a high HP infantry squad with double machine guns, and then you also get engineers, which are still decent squads, and just high HP infantry squads, which are useful. Recon tab is a bit meh because the scouts are underwhelming. Recon Bradley is expensive. It's also good, but mostly on the defensive. You don't really want to use it on the offense that much, in my opinion. So the M150, or is it the M150? The little M113 recon vehicle with the old 16 pan tow and the 50 cal is a pretty efficient vehicle as well, and it's recon, so it's forward deployed. So yeah, I think it's pretty good actually. You also have the chaparrals, which are one of the best AAPs in the game, not seedable. Your air tap is like meh. The Phantom is pretty good. The F-15 is, I mean, the F-15 with the AMRAAMs is definitely better than the one with the Sparrows because that one is still overpriced compared to the Su-27, for example. But the F-15 with the AMRAAMs is also kind of a little bit overpriced. It's like good, but it's like not that good. It's still RNG fest, and I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's fine overall. The problem is just more that the bombers of the US bombers are just unbelievable garbage. The F4HE bomber has like an unbelievable high spread. So while you would expect it to perform similar to the MiG-21 HE that has the same bomb loadout, it performs astronomically worse because they just drop their bombs into all directions at once for some reason. We don't even need to talk about the F111, for example. God almighty, this thing is useless garbage and way too expensive and needs, I think, 10 minutes to reload. So, yeah. But the thing is, you don't even need to use your airtap that much. Just use all the other tools you have available to you, and you can still get a good game. Just don't expect to win early. Play for the late game, keep your tanks alive, micro them well, don't lose too much infantry as well because you will need them at some point, and don't go into infantry grinds. That's also pretty important because you will lose most likely. But overall, in my opinion, still a decent division. 6 US also haven't come around quite quite to play it. I wanted to do it, and then I was just distracted with other divisions and had stuff to do in real life. So unfortunately, I haven't gone around to play it. Honestly, I think it's hard to rank. I think it's high B tier, or maybe even low A tier. I'm not completely sure. The thing is, the opener can completely delete you if you're not prepared for it, or get shitty RNG and your AA just fucks up. But the thing is, as long as you survive the early game, 6 US has like nothing to contest, or like it has something to contest but nothing to push. That's the problem. So it's a bit of a dichotomy of this division. So I think, yeah, high B tier is like okay. So is it better than the Belgians? I think so, because you have the Navy SEALs, which are delete machines in infantry fighting. The M48 is actually a pretty decent tank, honestly. It's not the best, but it's okay. The lack of smoke is pretty painful, but having a good gun for the price and being recon, so it can at least spot something sometimes and is forward deployed, which again plays into the whole early aggression and early advantages. Recon up in general is pretty good with like the Alaskan units that are reservists but double vet. Pretty good. Also, you get a bunch of RCLs in this division. ATGMs. You can also get a bunch of fire support up with the CACVs, with the AGLs, for example. And yeah, the air type is obviously the highlight of the division. And outside of the Sparrow F-15, which is still overpriced, you're pretty good. It's expensive, that's a bit of a problem, and some of the planes are a bit useless. But overall, it's a good air type. And with recon A-10s and then also normal A-10s, you can wreck your enemy. But yeah, I think high B tier is fair. Because it's definitely not in the same tier as like 3rd Armored, for example. That would be insane. Now, 8th Infantry. That's a hard one. Honestly, I think it's somewhere in here. I know that's weird to say it's worse than 6, and that's a bit cocky because as I said, I haven't even played 6 myself. So I don't know. And I also haven't played 8th in a while. So this full disclaimer here. But the problem is, every time I look at 8th, I'm just asking myself, why would I play that? Mech rifles are honestly pretty bad now. Like, it's a 9-man squad with double machine guns, but you can't use both of the machine guns in close quarters fighting. They only have laws. They come with the M113, which is nice because that's a lot of fire support you can get, but it also makes you slow and more expensive because you can't sell the truck, obviously, because it's not a truck. It's an M113. Rangers are just bad. I don't know, they just never feel good to use. They're supposed to be special forces, but because they only get 1 veterancy level, they aren't really good. They lose against pretty much every other special forces squad or like specialized anti-infantry squad in the game. I tried taking them the Ranger Dragons in the helicopter to make some early plays, but I haven't even come around to do it because, as I said, I just look at it and think to myself, why would I even subject myself to this? The M1A1s are good. The M1 itself, like the standard M1 with the old 105mm gun, has been buffed, so it's like okay, but your tank type is so expensive that it's kind of, you don't want to take, maybe you want to take them, but then again, is it really worth it because the tank types are so expensive? I would rather have the M1A1 and then the M60 for a cheap tank, which is also still a little bit overpriced, but it's still better than the M1 price-wise, as some fire support. The infantry tab itself is also, by the way, very costly. Artillery tab is pretty good because I also get the M110, so instantly goated, of course. Recon tab is, again, it's strong, but the slots are so expensive. Same for the air tab. The air tab, if you look at it, is actually pretty good. You have the F-16 cluster, which on its own is kind of shit. But if you use it correctly, you can get very good value with it, as, for example, an AA Hunter, which sounds weird, but they can kill Coups or OSAs pretty consistently. And if you pair them up with Seed, for example, that's pretty good. You also have the A10 and the F111 LGB with the smaller bombs, but that's still a pretty decent plane. But the problem is that your air slots are so expensive that if you want to have a good air tab, you basically have to sacrifice like everything else in the division. And that's just too risky with like 9-man mech rifles. You want to have a lot of like a decent amount of them. Back in the day, you could take like less of them when they were 11-man because they were absolute infantry shredders. Now they're like meh. Engineers are obviously still good, but yeah, the helicopter tab also. The helicopter tab at least has like good activation slots, but the Cobras have been nerfed and now they're also like they're okay, but they're nothing very. They can't carry a division because like that's also something about Third Armor that I forgot. You know, they get Apaches. You don't get Apaches. You only get Cobras. And so overall, it's just weird. You get a good AA tab. That's nice. And the F-16 has been buffed finally at the fighter, so it's not, again, not completely shit. Well, honestly, it's in a decent spot right now. But, like, it's just pure mediocrity from this division. And a mediocre division where all the slots cost you an arm and a leg, I don't know. I just really don't think it's that great. So, yeah, obviously, you can say that it should be higher than 6 US or whatever, but I honestly think 6 US still is better. Because 6 US, for example, if you play it on 2 legs, can actually be extremely strong. Like, unironically, very, very good. 8th, I don't even know on what map you would want to play it. In an infantry grind, you will lose against a division that is like better, is like an infantry division. Or even if it's not an infantry division, if it's a tank division, you will just lose because you don't have IFVs and they have IFVs. If they don't just sacrifice them into your laws or whatever, but even then, a squad with a law will rarely kill an IFV because the law is just so bad and has only 4 ammo. So, yeah, and then you open again. You have good tanks, but if you're playing on an open map, why wouldn't you just play like an actual tank division? And if you're playing against an actual tank division, they will just overwhelm you with more tanks. And again, overwhelm your infantry with autocannons that you don't have. Well, you have them in the recon tab, but again, it's too expensive to take more than one card of them, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's just underwhelming mediocrity. On the other hand, 9th US, in my opinion, is a solid A-tier division. Now, is it better than 3rd US? I'm not sure. I think, hard to say. I think they're pretty close to each other, honestly. There it really depends on the map and your playstyle and your enemy, so the usual factors that I like always talk about. 9th is obviously a much lighter division. It also does struggle with the M60s that are still a little bit overpriced, especially if you play into G55s. It's just a bit of a pain. But they're still okay. Like, they're not horrendously overpriced. Your infantry is actually pretty good. You get infinite amounts of fire support with your AGL jeeps, and also just the general AGL teams in the infantry tab. Artillery is not the best, but very, very good. With the is it actually laser guided? I don't know, but the guided artillery, it's 155, so it still doesn't have the biggest punch. But if you can get it in range of recon and get this corrected shot where it gets extremely precise, you can get very good value out of them. And the big advantage over the Acacias, the guided Acacias of 27Y, for example, is that they're just a lot cheaper. You can also take the M270 cluster if you want to. I don't have it in my deck specifically because it's just a little bit too expensive and I wouldn't more supply for that. You get insane snipers that have finally been price nerfed because it was the absolute joke that they cost the same as like a normal sniper squad, even though they had double the sniper rifles and then also more range, and they could literally kill light vehicles. Like, that just made no sense. And because they are come in the little funny 120 kilometer an hour Jeep, you are very fast with the front line. You get pretty cool 2-man GSR infantry recon squads that are obviously very squishy, but also very cheap for exceptional recon. Like, that's a bargain, man. And the air tab, expensive, but good actually. also struggle from the F-15s with the Sparrows again. Your AA tab is like a lot of people say it's bad. I wouldn't even say it's bad. You're just lacking long range AA, but as soon as your enemy is within range, like you have the T-Chaps, which is a stationary chaparral, and the Avengers and Stingers, like that's still a good air tab, anti-air tab, I mean. So yeah, and also your recon tab is actually not complete garbage, like in the sense of activation slots, and you also get a drone. Like that's cool. So overall, yeah, I think it's a very good division actually. I haven't come around to play it that much. I'm trying it right now, and trying to figure out how to exactly play it. But I think it's a very good division. And you also, oh, how could I forget the CAC-V, which is still like the best ATGM vehicle in the whole game. I don't care what anybody says. It's like, oh my god, it has been nerfed. It doesn't have a 5 femtosecond aim time anymore. However, will I use it? Yeah, man. Like, whatever will you do if your truck isn't the best close range brawler anymore? Like the CAC-V is still insanely good if you just keep it at range. Before, the problem was that you could like literally drive it up to a tank at like 500 meters and still win because your ATGMs are obviously extremely fast, the Hellfires, and the aim time was so low. Now it's actually, in my opinion, a very strong but still balanced unit. So yeah, there's that. Also, you do rely on Cobras just like 8th, but you like do have actually good infantry. So yeah, very good division in my opinion. Also, by the way, especially in tournaments where a lot of the like S tier divisions and the other very good divisions get banned. So very good to know how to play this division. Now 11th ACAF was for a long time like up at like bullshit tier, though this is quite some time ago. And I would still put it in S tier, honestly. I think it's worse than like the IFV divisions. Because technically it also has IFVs with the one card of Panzergrenadier in the Martyrs, but it only has this one card, and then the 2 cards of Bradleys in the Recon tab. So it just has enough IFVs to have some presence with the IFVs on the field, but you can't spam them like 56Y, for example. M1A1s, as I said already, in my opinion, pretty good tanks, but you don't get any HAs. So you're kind of stuck with the standard M1A1, but you get the Recon M1A1, which is a very good tank. You do have a very good Recon tab availability-wise. You have also LRS for exceptional Recon. As I said, 2 card of Recon Bradleys, one of which is the M3A2, so the up-armored Bradley with... Does it have the tandem? I think it does. Doesn't matter that much, but if it has it, it's just an extra on top. If it doesn't have it, it's not that bad. Because its standard Tortu is still amazing. You also get like the how's it called? The ECM helicopter, or like the jammer helicopter, sorry. It has high ECM. The jammer helicopter and the Kiowa Warrior as well with the Hellfires, for example. Do get the Cobras with the Tortus, which are pretty useful. The so-called Sea Knight. So I'm just having to drink all the time because my mouth is very dry right now. But in the Sea Knight, it's actually a pretty decent Cobra in my opinion. It still struggles from the low HP, but with the Tochu, it has a very good damage output against tanks actually. And it also gets more unguided anti-infantry rockets than the Tow Cobra, which is pretty nice. Your air tab used to be completely insanely overpowered. Now it's like, it's still strong, but it's not overpowered anymore, especially with the F-16 LGB being pretty useless now, because it struggles from the same problem as all the other one-drop LGBs outside of the Su-24. So the air tab isn't completely broken anymore, but still good. What do we still... Yeah, the AA tab is a bit underwhelming because it's expensive. It has good units in it, like the Eyehawk Stinger, but it's just very expensive. And for the fighters, you have 1 card of standard F-16, 1 card of shotgun F-16. So you can't like throw away your fighters, but if you use them correctly, they still are very strong. And the infantry tab, while limited, you have shit tons of high HP infantry squads. And still enough space to fit in a Milan 2. and the 1 card of a Panzergrenadier if you want the extra IFVs. But you can even play without them and just have more high HP infantry with the endless amounts of engineers and mech rifles. You could even use the Heimatschützen. I don't like them because I don't have the space to fit in military police as well, and without military police they're kind of shit. But if you just want to have like more infantry in a sense of cannon fodder, you can do it. And so overall, I'd say the division is very good. Artillery is limited, but like good enough. Let's put it like that. M109s are decent artillery. So yeah, definitely S tier. Also, you get the BGS squads, the little ones that aren't like just 20-point exceptional recon squads, unfortunately, anymore. But they're still good recon, and they're extremely cheap. So that's very nice. Now, 24th Infantry, the National Guard Division. I have played it for quite a bit in the past, but I can't remember when the last time was that I played it. Where do we put it? I think it's like somewhere around here, because it's like you have IFVs, quite a lot of them, and especially the National Guard Bradleys are very cheap and very efficient. Problem is kind of the infantry coming with them, like with the National Guard Bradleys, obviously also National Guard and gets the reservist debuff, and it's just so bad. And that's always painful. You do get a very good military police squad though, and you also still have a lot of other high HP infantry options available to you. The artillery is like okay, which is sad because I love myself a good artillery tab. Obviously the Strike Eagle, which is kind of the centerpiece of the division. I don't know, I just always get unlucky with the Strike Eagle. My Strike Eagle just always dies to 2 manpads. I don't know, I don't think my Strike Eagles have ever dodged a single missile in their whole fucking life. So I guess you can use it, and technically the Strike Eagle is still a very good LGB, but for me it just never gets its job done even close. And the problem is that, just like with 3rd US, your other bombers are just very bad. So your air tip kind of consists of Strike Eagles and fighters. Maybe Seed if you can work it into the division, but I think I have even left it out because I just don't have enough space for it. I might have put the F4HE in as some like cheap ATGM, anti-ATGM bomber. But even then it sometimes fails to kill ATGMs, so you know, whatever. Tanks are like the M1 IPs are okay, but like not good enough to carry the division on their own. And the tank tabs are fairly expensive. You do get a bunch, like a shit ton of ATGMs together with the Bradleys, National Guard Bradleys, standard infantry ATGMs, and then also the ITO Jeep in the tank tab. That's pretty good. You get the National Guard Apaches, which are pretty funny little units because they're like, well, I mean they're Apaches, but they're worse because they get the reservist traits. But it's still an Apache. Like it's still decently dangerous to play against. It's just obviously like just straight up worse than the other Apaches that aren't National Guard. Your AA tip is okay. You do get the Chaparral, again, pretty much the best non-seatable AA piece in the game. Estrella 10M is also very good because it has the on-the-move accuracy, but Chaparral arguably better. And Recon tab. What's about the Recon tab? I don't think it's particularly good. It's like meh. Oh yeah, but you also do like again on the F-15 with the Sparrow. I know I've said it quite some times, but the thing is, if you compare the F-15 with the Sparrows to the SU-27, you will cry. Like the SU-27 is just straight up better in everything but speed, ECM, and then it's just cheaper. Why? By like 20 points or something. That makes straight up no sense. What the fuck? Like, yeah, by 20 points because it costs 270, the F-15 with the Sparrows. So, yeah, I think that's about where it should be. Now, 35th, that's a rough one. Because normally all the people would put it in D tier instantly. But I don't know. Yeah, but to be fair, it's like high D tier. Does it make a lot of the difference? No. But it has been buffed a little bit recently. And those buffs really can go a long way. Like, you know, higher availability on some ATGMs, on some infantry. The M60s did get a little bit cheaper. The LGB isn't completely useless anymore. Because remember, when they nerfed the LGBs, they just randomly took away half the bomb loads from the F111 LGBs and also made them 1 bomb per drop. Because, like, I don't know, apparently fucking TKS and 35th US needed the nerf, I guess. But then they luckily returned it, because that was absolutely insane. So, yeah, it's just the same problem as always. Everything is National Guard. You don't have the best availability. The cards, like, the division has, like, I don't know, it feels like no cheap card slots at all anywhere. You would have a decent air tab if it wouldn't again cost you an arm and a leg to have more than 5 planes in it. The same for the infantry tab or the tank tab. Artillery. The problem with the reservist M110s is that they're so massively nerfed that their whole shtick of sniping kind of doesn't work anymore. So you pretty much always take the M109s instead of the M110s. They are pretty cheap though, so I guess it's fine. But yeah, overall, not a very good division. It has a pretty cool AA tab though, but again, the AA tab is extremely expensive. Everything in this division is just expensive, even though it's supposed to be a National Guard division. Nobody knows why. So yeah, G tier. 82nd Airborne. Honestly, I know that's gonna be weird, but I unironically think 82nd Airborne is like somewhere around here. It's like better than 4th Armored, I think, but other than that, it's just insanely bad. Everything is unbelievably expensive. Like, the LAV is good, but again, compared to the CNV, the CNV costs half. You get like 30%, 33% more of them. The Sheridan has at least been price buffed, so it isn't complete garbage anymore. Your infantry with the truck costs basically as much like the Soviet airborne infantry that comes with an IFV. Why? That makes no sense. And the Dragons have been nerfed. What is it? It's almost like 2 years ago already, or like 1.5 years ago. They aren't really. I mean, they're still useful, but they're not gonna carry you anymore. Because back in the day, if you might remember, we had the whole airborne meta where 82nd Airborne and 11E were like the best divisions in the whole game, because Dragons still had a lot more range. But now with the less, and they could outrange IFVs, now they can't do that anymore. So that's bad. Then your air tab is expensive. The F-16 LGB is completely useless. So basically your air tab consists of like the A-10 rocket, and then the F-16 ATs and the F-16 seat. And then the fighters as well, obviously, because you need some, like, you know, air defense, because your AA tab itself isn't... It's okay, honestly, because again, you have Stingers and the Avenger. But, like, it's just not good. You could take the F-16 HE, but it's extremely expensive and it doesn't do anything. Like 227 kilogram or whatever, like 500-pound bombs are like garbage, according to Eugen, apparently. They don't do anything. But the plane costs, like, what? 1 minute worth of 1 minute a tick? 250 points or something? Why? It does less than the MiG-21 HE. That has 2 less bombs, by the way. I just don't know. And again, the infantry tab, which was supposed to be the cornerstone of this division, is hilariously overpriced for infantry that doesn't really perform that well, honestly. The helicopters are cool, but you also don't get that many Apaches, actually. Or like, you get a decent amount of them, but the heli tab gets pretty expensive pretty quickly. Which is because of the next division we're going to look at, because of 101st, which is supposed to be the helicopter division. But then why does 101st not have a good air tab? Like, the air tab of 4E, or 1st, or 2nd UK is like infinitely better than 82nd Airborne's air tab. So, I don't know. This division is just... In my opinion, it's borderline useless. Except for maybe a few exceptions. But, yeah, no. Just don't even bother. 101st, on the other hand, I think it's like somewhere around here. think it's maybe even low A tier. I don't know, but I would trick a lot of people if I put it in low A tier, I think. Is it better or worse than MNet? I don't know. Let's put it in high B tier for now. So it does have actually decent helicopter availability and like more like cart availability, not unit availability. The depths are pretty cool. The air tap is like technically much worse than 82nd Airborne's, but as I said, 82nd Airborne already has a pretty shitty air tap, so having a worse air tap isn't even that bad. Like you still get what you need. It's just fighters, and then you can still take the F4 bombers if you want to. And with the Apaches and the Apache ATAS, you have a good helicopter tap to alleviate that. The infantry is actually useful. It can do something. It's not the best in the game, but it's decent. And then you also have the Green Berets ODA, which are like one of the best infantry squads in the game. They are absolutely insane if you get them into the right position, meaning into an infantry fight. They will delete everything. You also get M1 IPs, not a lot of them, but like no other airborne division gets tanks, except for 56Y, lol. So that's better than nothing, and especially if they finally buff the M1 IP availability to, like, for example, the Challenger Mark II vet and availability curve, that would make the division a lot better. And also remember that the Green Beret ODA come in a Chinook with the Gatling gun, and because the Chinook itself is also special forces, the Gatling gun itself is pretty good, honestly. And the Chinook has 20% ECM, so those are, like, funnily enough, pretty good helicopters, or like better than you would expect. Now, like, is it obviously actually a very good division? No, because like there's some matchup on some maps where you're just fucked, like you will just die, more or less. But it's decent, and also you get good artillery for an airborne division with the 155s that also get free veterancy. So overall, I think it's a solid high B tier division, or maybe even low A tier. But because you have like some matchups where you're just dead, I think putting it in a high B tier is fair. Oh, now we have the French, the 3 French divisions that are still left. So this is 11E. I think it's like low B tier. It's definitely better than 82nd because it doesn't have to pay as much for its ATGMs, which is already very important. And your infantry is actually good. Like, unironically, how they called, the Para Marines. You can take them at max vet and still have enough of them. And you also then have the Para SAS, which is a Special Forces Recon squad with satchels. So if you get them in close range, those guys will delete infantry squads and eat them for breakfast. The problem is obviously just that unless you're fighting in a town or in a forest, you're kind of dead in the water. I think they're called the ECRs. Yeah, the like light tanks they get have been buffed a little bit again. So they're like okay. They're not the worst. They have kinetic penetration, which means that, you know, the closer you get, the more damage you actually do, which will be important when we talk about 152E. And you also get them in the recon tab, which is pretty much like a budget AMX10 as in 5E. So I think it's not the worst, but it's also not particularly good. I also just realized that you have, the whole time you didn't even see my mouse, but, well, it is what it is now. It's not too important because you see all the important things you see anyway. So yeah, we're gonna continue with the video as if nothing happened. But yeah, 11E, it's like okay-ish. And your air tip is actually good. Like, your air tip is miles better than 82nd Airborne's, for example. Your fighters are worse, but your bombers are actually useful. They can do something. So yeah, I think it's decent to put it in low B tier. And then 152E, Like, I'm sorry, but it's just straight up complete trash because you don't get kinetic penetration on basically all your vehicles. They have all heat shells, which means that the penetration stays the same on all distances. So even if you close a distance to an IFV, you can't one-shot it. And with tanks, just the same. Like, assuming you will even hit, which you don't do a lot of the times with like the AMLs. So it's just unbelievably painful. Your infantry, the Commando de l'Air, they're good. They're actually very good. But they're not enough to carry the division. Because you just don't have anything to fight in the open. Your artillery is also, like, not the best. Your air type is pretty decent right now. But not enough to win you the game. It's just underwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. Even with the pretty big buffs they have gotten recently. But I mean, yeah, what can you do? You know, people voted for a meme division and then they wondered that it's a meme division. So yeah, not that much Eugene can do, honestly. Like there's a few things that still can be buffed, like the AMLs still need to go down in price. But the problem is even when they go down in price, they will still be pretty shit. So yeah, not a good division. Now to my beloved Bundeswehr divisions. 2nd Panzergren, straight up S tier. I think it's somewhere around here. I do still think that 2nd UK is better, but it's hard to say because 2nd Panzergren just gets so many more IFVs that they can spam out, and the light tank spam is also pretty dangerous. But on the other hand, the early game from 2nd UK with the SAS is just so much better. Like, a lot of the pros don't even take the FSJ anymore in 2nd Panzergren because the FSJ is like one of the worst squads in the whole fucking game. They pay like, I don't know, 500 points extra just because they have the Panzerfaust 3, which doesn't even have tandem anymore. And then they all have 7.62mm weapons, which according to Eugen are apparently complete garbage and don't do anything. So yeah, you just don't take them anymore. You take the FS Aufklärer as like a budget Spetsnaz OP squad, and then you literally just use it for its Panzerfaust 3, and then just play the long game with Martyrs and Leopards, 1A1A1s and 2A3s. Maybe also 1A5s if you want to, but I think I would rather spam 1A1A1s at double vet. Also get a decent air tab, insanely good artillery tab with the M110s, as always. M110s are delete machines. AA tab, also pretty good. Gepards, Eyehawks, Fliegerfaust are obviously pretty bad, but they're cheap, so it's just nice to have them as extra support. So what more would you want? Yeah, you also have the Luxus in Recon tab, so early forward deployed fire support. I mean, the division just has everything you would ever want from a division, honestly. You don't have any like super heavy tanks, but Leopard 2A3 is like good enough. And you still get like Milan 2s. Oh yeah, also of course the Jaguar, like not the plane but the AT launcher, the AT vehicle, ATGM vehicle, sorry, which is 6 frontal armor, 10 HP, and has smoke, and a tow too. Like, it's just super good. No doubt about it. 5th Panzer, also S tier, but I would put it. Yeah, somewhere between 4E and first seems legit. I don't know about it. First might actually be better than 5th Panzer, just because the Warrior Appliques are such menaces, and 5th Panzer doesn't get the Marder 1A3s, only the 1A2s. They're still decent. But like, the infantry, the Panzer Grenadiers are like, they're good, but the British infantry is more versatile in my opinion, because they have, well, first of all, they have one more man, which is useful, and they have double machine gun, and all of their weapons are 5.56 and can be used on the move. While the Panzer Grenadiers are 6 men, and then they have one machine gun and one DMR, and both of those weapons can't be used on the move and can't be used in close quarters fighting, which makes them like borderline useless in anything but stationary forest fighting, for example. Or I guess if you fight in the open, but you rarely fight infantry in the open. It's hard to say, but on the other hand, Leopard 2A4C is like one of the most efficient tanks in the whole game right now. And you get 2 cards of them, Leopard 2A4Cs. And you also have Leopard 1A1A1s. Leopard 2A3s, Jaguar 2. You can also then take Jaguar 2 and Jaguar 1 combo. You have like an absolute ATGM spam hell. I don't think it's that useful. Though Joker really in this league's group stage really put up a good fight with them in our second match. So this can be dangerous. And you also get a bunch of high HP infantry squads with the Pioneers. But the problem is, again, like the Pioneers, they lose against every other close range infantry squad because, again, they're just massively cucked by the 7.62 weapons. But they are 10-man squads after all, so they're still good. Fernspeer and Luxus in the recon tab, so like what more would you ever want from a recon tab? Air tab is expensive but decent. The F4 shotgun fighter isn't really great anymore. It's like serviceable but not the best. But the F4 AT and the F4 rockets are pretty good. You can also then take, if you want to focus on airplay, you can take the Tornado HEs and the Mehrzweckwaffe as well. AA tab, goated with the Roland 3, Roland 2, Gepard, Fliegerfaust, like fantastic. Artillery tab, unfortunately not as goated as it used to be back in the day, because back in the day you also had M110s, and then they got taken away. So, you know, if you ever hear somebody say, oh, we can't take it away from the division, they had it historically. Well, it didn't matter for 5th Panzer, and in my opinion, rightfully so, because we want to have divisions that are, you know, unique and cool to play, and not just straight up historical TOE masturbation. But it's still a good artillery tab, and you still have the M270 cluster, so nothing to complain about. So yeah, good tab, good tabs overall, good division, fantastic division, even one of the best in the game. And then we have TKS, and that one is honestly one of the worst divisions in the game. It's definitely better than 152. I think it's still worse than 35th US. I know I played it recently and I won against like 20th Panzerner, but to be fair, the player also wasn't the most experienced one, and I barely won by the skin of my teeth. If this is even a saying, is it? Well, we will say that this does exist. And yeah, it once back in the day, it had a good early game, but then AMX-10RC got nerfed because they wanted to nerf 5e, but then they didn't nerf the Surblindé, but nerfed the RC that isn't 5e and TKS for some reason. God knows why. German infantry is just constantly struggling. Heimatschützen were buffed, but they're still not good because, again, 7.62 as always being garbage. They are kind of cool together with the military police squad, but they will lose to most other infantry still, even reserve infantry. Pioneers, same as I said with 5th Panzer, decent squad, but will lose to other equal squads. Green Berets are like a straight scam. Like you pay 60 points for a 6-man special forces squad that is like barely able to hold the ground. The FS-Liga B1 are absolute delete machines though. Like they are really good, and you get 5 of them per card, I think. So they're extremely good. Never underestimate those guys, especially when they got the Panzerfaust 3. Now they have a Session Charge and a Panzerfaust 3. So fantastic squad. And together with the Wheeler 820 moves that are forward deployed, you can still have a decent early game. It's just that your early game isn't that strong, and your late game is just like pain and suffering, and like, I don't know, crying and hoping that you will kind of hold on. AA tab though, absolutely goated, like with Roland 2, Roland 3, iHawk, all available to you, super good. Air tab is not as good as it once was after they nerfed the F1 of the Starfighter HE bomber, but it's still a good air tab. And you also still have the F111 LGB that is like one of the best LGBs in the game. Unfortunately, no seat. The Gina rockets are, like the Gina D1, are extremely cost effective if you can use them early on. So yeah, it's like you have tools available to you, but it's supposed to be an infantry division that just doesn't have a lot of good infantry, except for the FS-Liga B1, basically. And the air mobiles, the French ones, they are pretty good, but again, you don't get a lot of them. Or if you take a lot of them, you either have to sacrifice availability or veterancy. It's like one of the two. Yeah. Very unfortunate. Also, like, you know, typical Eugen and West German balancing, like, they just don't give the Bundeswehr units divisions the units they had. Like, TKS had reserve Leopard ones. Why don't they just have them as well? Not like other divisions have a lot of reserve Leopard ones. I guess in general we have a lot of Leopard ones overall, but like, come on, please just give TKS something. But it feels like they have just completely forgotten about them, sadly enough. Now let's go to the other Germans, the East German ones, and start with 4th Mod Schützen. Now this division, with the recent T55 buffs, has become, in my opinion, pretty good again. I would even put it somewhere around here, I think. Yeah, definitely A tier. Definitely better than MNET. Don't know whether it's like better than 3rd Armored. Hard to say. It's again very dependent on like playstyle and division and map circumstances. But yeah, with the T55 buffs, those have become a lot more cost efficient. You have extremely good forward deploy with the FS Jäger. No like real mechanized forward deploy though, so that's a bit unfortunate, but you also get good helicopters, so you can use those in the early game too. Air tap is serviceable, not the best, but serviceable. Artillery tap is fine. I'm actually a big fan of the Toad 152s because they're just basically as efficient as the Akazie, or like as good as the Akazie, but more efficient because it costs like half as much. And not a lot of Soviet like pack divisions actually get the Toad 152 mil. And the infantry tab overall is also still good. It's not the best, but it's good, and you get resolute on pretty much all your infantry and also on your tanks. The recon tab, you lack like a lot of exceptional recon stuff, but it's still good with the FS Sprengtaucher and the Einsatzgruppe, or however they call it. It's just 8 more special forces squads that you get, so take them. And yeah, so definitely a good division, but falls off in the late game, obviously. But you can do an absolutely insane ATGM, as you also saw in my league game against Jeremy, with the T55 with the Rapira, then the AT gun with the Rapira. Sorry, I think I said Rapira. It's the Bastion ATGM, right? The Rapira is the AT gun. Damn, I'm so dumb. Sorry. With the Bastion ATGM. And then the Conquerors and the Fago in the infantry tab, and the Fago being forward deployed and double vet is also very useful. So yeah, you still have that for the late game, but obviously you still want to like dominate in the early game and then either win early game or at least dominate so much that your enemy doesn't have the time to come back. Also, this video will be fucking long. Jesus Christ. Now looking at 7th Panzer. So I just played a few games with it. The problem is, it's not really bad, as I have said in the videos as well. It's just that it's outshined by pretty much all the other T-72 divisions, well, the 2 others we have. So I think it's like somewhere... Yeah, I think it's still better than MNET, but I don't think it's actually even better than 4th. Because if you want to have a division that's better than 4th but has T-72s, like just play 9th or 20% or something. But it's still not a bad division. It's just that, yeah, it got power crept by the other T-72 divisions. It has T-72 Ms and then 1 card of M1s, which is okay. You'd also have T-55s, which is useful, but like Panzerna also has T-55s. You have decent infantry, but Panzerna and 9th also have decent infantry, or even better infantry, or more infantry, and BMP2s. Your artillery is fine, but 9th and 20th have better artillery than you. Your air tap is actually, I think, better than Panzerna or 9th, but like not by a long shot. AA is pretty similar. 9th actually even has better AA slots. And yeah, Panzerna and 9th obviously just have straight up better tanks. And I don't know whether the tank availability, the tank card slot cost is better or worse. That's more or less the same. You do get the Spezialaufklärer, which 9th doesn't get, but overall you also don't get the German helicopter, so it's kind of more or less the same. And yeah, so kind of a little bit sad about it. Now 9th Panzer Division. Yeah, as I said, it's just 7th, but better in literally every way. And I honestly think it's like low S tier, or maybe a high A tier, but I do think it's low S tier. Even just because of the Napalm Grud. The Napalm Grud is such a menace, honestly. If your enemy is entrenching somewhere, just throw a Napalm Grud on them. Unless it's in a city, then it's not that effective. But everything but a city, the Napalm Grud will just delete them. And even if it's in a city, it will stun them down quite a lot. And funnily enough, it's like one of the best counter battery tools, except for the cluster artillery. So if your enemy doesn't move their artillery, your howitzers will still have a hard time killing it. But a napalm, even if it's a tank howitzer or like an SPG, a mobile howitzer, the advantage of the napalm is that it will stun them and rout them, and then your enemy will not be able to drive them out of the flames, and they will just die in the flames. So yeah, but I have already said basically everything about 9th when I compared it to 7th. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Very good division. Now we have Berliner Gruppierung, so the Warsaw Pact, Berlin group, and this is one of the divisions that I think I have never literally ever played. It's like with the T-55 buffs, it has become better again, but the infantry is just such a nothing burger because the Wachschützen have lost their extra veterancy. I guess that's realistic because a double vet, they were like super cracked, and I wouldn't know that Wachschützen were like especially good special forces or something. But it was just a cool thing for the division, and in general, like I think historicity is cool, but I also think that game balance comes first and interesting division designs, which is also why I'm always saying that I am so pissed that a bunch of the unique West German stuff isn't in the game, because the whole critique of West German division is that they're so bland. But you could put unique stuff in them, they just decide to not do it. And well, with Berliner Gruppierung, they had unique stuff in them, but then a bunch of it got taken out and put into 6, and then the other stuff got nerfed. So now it's a little bit sad. It still has a decent air tab, and the infantry tab isn't bad. It's just not super exciting. So I think it's like C tier. Is it better than Berlin Command? I don't know. Like again, with the divisions that I never played, take it with a grain of salt, except for 152E, because this division is just straight up shit. Nobody needs to play it, it. It's literal garbage. Now let's go to a very interesting division, and that's KDA. Honestly, I think it's like around here. I think it's even better than MNet. It's not better than 7th Panzer, but it's better than MNet. The KDA Schützen together with the military police squad are an actually very good infantry squad. And because it's such a high HP infantry, it's also extremely survivable. You get T-62s, which are pretty cost-efficient tanks, especially the one with the Bastion ATGM. T-54s are also super cost-efficient. It's basically like a T-55, but a bit worse, I think. But it's still very cost-efficient. You have insane artillery with the Malka, also on Napalm Grud. The 9th doesn't have a Napalm Grud, it has a Napalm RM70, which is even better because it gets 2 reloads. The Napalm Grud, to be fair, only gets 1 reload, so you have to buy supply earlier, but it's still very, very good. The Smerch, very cracked cluster artillery. You can also take like the lighter artillery if you're a fan of that, though I don't know why you would if you have the best heavy artillery in the game. Then air tab, pretty good. You have the MiG-27 HE and the MiG-21 HE bombers, which are, again, just very cost efficient. Recon tab is really bad, though. Like, this is a very big downside for KDA, that their recon tab is, you don't get good units there, and they're pretty expensive. But pretty much outside of that, the division is very good. And it doesn't have any IFVs, to be fair, obviously. But then between all the good infantry, ATGM spam, air spam, you also get Books, which is arguably the best AA piece in the whole game. Maybe not the most cost efficient one, but you pay extra for the mobility, and I think that's fine. So yeah, in my opinion, very good division. There are some matchups, obviously, where you will just suffer if you're playing, like, for example, Third Armored on Vertigo or something like that. That's pretty painful. But overall, in my opinion, very good division. And you also get seat, a very good seat placement at the SU-24. And obviously with the artillery, you can also just like, it's not super easy, but you can work on the enemy's AA with your artillery. So yeah, I think that's a decent place to put it. Now, Rügener Gruppierung. I have played it, but like a long time ago, so I don't know how it is right now. And I do think it is a decent division, so I think it's like high C tier, but it's overall still not great. Yeah, it obviously also has a T-55s, so that's good for it. The standard T-72, the one without smoke, is like meh. Your KSK are a very good squad, but then overall the infantry is again pretty mediocre. It's not bad, it's not good. Your air tab is, let's say, cost efficient. It's not the best, but it's not the best, it's not the worst. It's like everything in this division is like, it's like meh. Like then some things are good and then other things are bad. So I think it's about high C tier. That's fair. Now to the Polish Force Mech. I have to put it in. I think I have to put it in S tier. Like, I'm sorry. I was thinking about maybe putting it in the high A tier, but I honestly think it's more like low S tier. Like, unironically, it might even be better than 11th and 9th. Honestly, like, you can get such insane tempo with this division that is not even funny. Like, there's a reason why I did several videos on it where I just was bulldozing over 56 yard and like even experienced players on like 56 yard or 5E and stuff like that. This division is absolutely cracked and should not be underestimated, which I think is also one reason why I was having such a good time with it, that people just completely underestimate it. But it's just full to the brim with extremely cost-effective tools. They're all on their own, they're not even that great. But if you put them together, it's just the map is full of stuff that is cheap, but can still defend itself and put out damage. Like the Gniwosh, or like the T-55As, the Meridas, the BVP-1s, and stuff like that. So yeah, the artillery is kind of bad though, so that's a bit painful. So I think I would put it in a lower S tier, because then also, if you're on Vertigo, for example, you are kind of fucked if your enemy knows what they're doing, but you can still overwhelm them with tempo. But yeah, I think just for the artillery, I would put it in a lower tier, because I like using artillery, so that is not very helpful. And you also only get like Fagos in the infantry tab, but you do get the 1 BRDM Concourse card, which is very important in my opinion. But yeah, overall, just extremely underrated division still in the like general community. I think a lot of high-level players have actually realized that this division is very, very good. And then you come to 20th Panzer. Now, oh yeah, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention, the recon tab with the Honkers, which just gets you to the front line very quickly, which is also one reason why 20th Panzer is so good, because I also get the Honkers. And I think I will put it like around here. Do I want to put it higher than 11th ACAF? I think so, because it just has the very good early tempo with the special forces and the recon tab and the Honkers. It has a pretty good air tab. We're not going to talk about the Polish MiG-23s, which for no particular reason at all just get one less availability and cost the same, even though they have worse missiles. But outside of that, very good. You have Danas, T-72M once. The T-72M is kind of shit in this division because it doesn't get smoke. T-55As, T-55AS, which the Force Mech also gets, the Mine Clearer T-55, very useful. Vilk is a bit overpriced, but still a decent tank. And the infantry tab is pretty good. Like the Saperzi are a pretty nice squad. Because the Komar, it looks bad because it's such a low penetration. AT launcher. But compared to other satchel squads that don't get any AT launchers, that's still pretty useful. Like, you would rather have one than have none. So yeah, and you also get 2 cards of BBP2s. That's nice. A is a bit limited because the cards are expensive, or the slots are expensive. But overall, that's fine because the division in general is very strong. As I said, especially because you can take ground early so well and then follow it up with T-55s and cheap BVP-1s, for example, and then later on follow it up with more expensive and better units. Don't have any Conquerors though, which is a bit painful, only for Ghosts and Malutkas. Well, but doesn't stop the division from being pretty cracked. And then we have Corpus de Santovi, and in my opinion, this division is just... I'm sorry, but it's just straight trash. I think I will put it... Is it even better than 35th? I'm considering... Nah, it has to go like down here. Like, I would unironically rather play TKS than Corpus de Santovi, I think. Because, like, not having any heavy ATGMs is just so bad. You're in a division that doesn't have any other way to deal with tanks except for the air, but then your enemy knows that, so they would just buy AA and it's GG. You can't do anything. You're just dead. Even if you get a side shot with your Fagos or your Malyutkas, that's not going to do anything. And your infantry is good. That's fair. But good infantry on their own won't get you anywhere. You also have the Piowa, the kind of I guess it's an older version of the Malutka or something. And not the Malutka, the Malka, so the heavy artillery piece. But again, it doesn't help you with the big problem of you not having anything to do with heavy tanks. Get a good helicopter tab though, so that's nice. But I don't know. I just can't put this thing anywhere higher, in my opinion. It's just, I don't know. I think it's borderline unusable, honestly, which is pretty sad because I think that division would be very cool if it just would have any way to deal with heavy tanks. Or like, not even heavy tanks. You're already fucked if you're meeting a medium tank because you can't do anything against it. Yeah. So there's that. 6, yeah. I haven't played this division in quite some time. It's not the worst because you get BMP-1s with the grenade launchers that don't have smoke, but that makes them pretty deadly against infantry, actually. T-64s are fairly cost-efficient. The problem is that your tank tab is very expensive, and your infantry tab is expensive. And the Luftsturmjäger, so like the FS Jäger that come in helicopters and not get forward deployed, are like okay. But again, not that great. The Spetsgrupper R that you get in the recon tab is also okay. The air tab, you get the MiG-21 cluster, which are absolutely cracked, and the MiG-31. And in the AA tab, you get the Buk. So that's a pretty strong suit of the division. But I don't know, your infantry is okay, or like okay to good, but the availability is just so limiting. They also get great artillery, by the way, in the Gerd howitzer. Hard to say. As I said, also, I haven't played it in a very long time, so this is going to be a bit of a, again, gut feeling. It's definitely better than those divisions. But is it good enough to be low A tier? I don't know. It still has T-64s and BMP-1s, you know. It also gets one card of the Mordschützen, so you get BMP-1s with very good resolute infantry. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it in low A tier. Fuck it. It's fine. Especially because the MiG-21 clusters are absolute menaces against heavy tanks. Because they can one-shot like literally everything in the game. 25, yeah. As you can remember, I was praising this division very highly when it came out. Then I kind of also tried to change my playstyle into a more early aggressive playstyle. And this just doesn't work with this division. If you try to play this division like that, it's like literal trash. But if you still go for like a slow play, this division is still very strong. So I think it's... I would still put it like... Is it above 3rd armored though? I think it's around here. Because not having any early aggression, or like not having a lot of early aggression, or expensive early aggression, is pretty limiting. But if you keep your stuff alive, you can get a massive blob, even towards the mid game, of tanks. And you still have decent early tempo with the T64 Ace, just not the new opener. Your air tip is pretty good, you get Su-27s. The AA tip is like mediocre, okay. You get the Musta S, it is, which is also a very good howitzer. Infantry tab is very limited, which is a bit problematic. But overall, it's like it's an decently strong division. Let's put it like that. But it's definitely not as strong as it was when it came out. I feel like, because other divisions have been buffed. The meta has changed, so yeah, 25 yard kind of struggles a little bit there, but it's still not bad in my opinion. Far from it. Not 27 yard. Very good division, but expensive. So it's a little bit hard to put it anywhere. I know there's going to be some people that are going to be shitting and crying, saying, "Oh my god, the HBV is so overpriced." Yeah, my god, how horrible that you have to actually pay for stuff that the tank can do, like having an ATGM. I don't care if the ATGM is like useless, quote unquote, because first of all, it isn't useless, because you can still use the ATGM at long ranges. Is that everywhere? No. But as I say, the T-72 is useless because it doesn't have max range and you can't engage at max range. Yes, you can't. That's why you have to put them in close range fighting. And that's why you want to use the T-ADBVs at max range. And even at closer ranges, you have error, you have an autoloader, you have decent armor, and decent penetration. Like, it's fine. It's not the best tank, by the way, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a fine tank. And then you also get the BMP3 in this division, most importantly, which is... It's not really the strongest IFV because it's fairly priced, and the BMP2, for example, isn't. But it's a very strong IFV still. And you get the BMP2 with the grenade launchers, which are like complete delete machines against infantry. And they're also still decent against tanks, because it's still a BMP2, or like, let's say, vehicles in general. You get a Mr. B, so a towed star howitzer, which is very nice because it's just cheaper. Air tab is very limited though, but the AA tab is actually pretty goated. Yeah, the Tor still has alignment problems with dive bombers sometimes, but the Stellar 10 M3 is so insanely good. It's like 60% accuracy, unseatable, and perfect stabilizer, and more range than a Stellar 10M. So I think it's somewhere around A tier. It's very similar to 3rd Armored, but I think it's better. Because you also get recon BMP2s, very good and like cost-efficient artillery, a lot less tanks, obviously. But yeah, if you keep your BMP3s alive, they can be very deadly in the late game if you then have a blob of them. And you still get the Su-17 AT, which is pretty much just like an Su-22 AT, more or less, with 30 AP missiles, which are fire and forget, so they don't get blocked by smoke once they're off the rails. Now 35 yard. Question is, do I put it in a bullshit tier or not? I think, honestly, it's like, I think it's still low bullshit tier. It's like, it could be high S tier or low bullshit tier in my opinion, just because of the fact that you can get literal infinite amounts of ATGMs. Because you get basically an ATGM with every card. And if you then take the Conquerors in the BTRD whatever robot that also gets a Conquerors, you just get a double Conquerors per card. And then you also get Conquerors in the tank tab. And they also get helicopters with obviously ATGMs and AT planes. Like, this is just insane. And you also have arguably the best seaplane in the game with the MiG-25. So I think that's fair. And you obviously you get forward deployed with everything. You have the BMD2 spam, Spetsnaz, everything you would ever want. AA is a bit limited, sure, but it's still good enough. And you have MiG-29s, which are pretty cost-efficient fighters. One of the most cost-efficient fighter in the game, honestly. So yeah, I think that's fair. 39 yaw. Some people say it's bad. Again, because some people are dumb and say that the ATBVs are bad. I completely disagree. I'm not saying the TATBVs are super great, but I just don't think they're bad. They're an okay tank. So 39 yaw struggles from the problem of being too well balanced and a little bit boring. I think 39 yaw is honestly somewhere around here. I would honestly put it like here. But again, the thing is, it's just boring to play. Because, I mean, you only have 2 cards of BMP2s, which is fine. But if you want BMP2 spam, you play other divisions. It has the ADBVs, but not a lot of them. So again, if you want TADBV spam, you will play another division. Its air tap is like okay, but especially with the MiG-27 being nerfed, it's pretty mediocre and very expensive slot-wise. Artillery is mediocre. Recon tap is mediocre. Helicopter tap is pretty good, actually. But overall, it's just nothing is bad about this division, but also nothing is very good about this division. So yeah, I think that's a good spot for it to be in. Now 76 yaw. I think it's still very cancer to fight against. I would... It's definitely S tier, but I don't know whether I would say it's like higher ranked than, for example, all those IFV divisions here. Because I think it's worse than them, but it's better than those divisions. You have ungodly air spam. So if you play, for example, against a division like the Belgians that have bad AA, you're in such a bad spot because you can do nothing against them, especially with the MiG-31s. They will just, if you have a pair of them, they will always instant retreat every plane, even if they miss. And if they hit, it's even worse, obviously, because the plane is out for repair for a long time. Your infantry is very correct with the Spätsgruppe V, and the other infantry you get as well. No helicopters, that's a bit annoying, but you also have a drone, and drones are pretty nice. Oh, I also forgot to mention that in 25 yaw that it gets a drone. Also forgot about the Belgians, but yeah, the Belgians have so many other issues that the drone really doesn't help them anymore. So yeah, that's helpful. You do get a BMD3, which is a beast of a unit with the grenade launcher and the Conqueror's M. And yeah, especially the smoke is just very useful to complement your BMD2 spam. And here again, you just get an absolute wall of ATGMs like in 35 yaw. But the thing is, 35 yaw has the helicopters on top of that. And like their air spam isn't as good, but it's still very good. So that's why I think 35 yaw is still like more S tier than 76 yaw. Yeah, I think that's fair. And the thing is, if you know the strength of 76 yaw being air and you have AA, you can counter it like fairly decently. And their air is also expensive. So once your enemy invests into air spam, you know that you can just push them off the ground because they can't have a lot there. 79 yaw. Yeah, also definitely one of the S tier divisions. Is it better than 5th Panzer or not? I don't know. It's a close duel. The thing is, the BMP2 is just straight up better than the Marder in every way. It's also a little bit more expensive, obviously, but it's just better. Especially with the Marder 1A2, it doesn't even have more armor. It has the same frontal armor. The TADBV IZD is an absolute beast Your air is very good, especially with the Su-24 cluster. You can completely destroy half your enemy's tanks if they're like blobbing them and trying to push somewhere and don't pay attention. And even if they pay attention and they're like a second too late, the Su-24 cluster has such a high spread of damage that you will still most likely like at least damage them. You can also like go hardcore into air with like the Mi-27 seat that also has the 30mm Gatling gun and stuff like that. I don't know, like 5th Panzer has more tempo early on. That's the thing with the Luxes and Leopard 1A1A1s and stuff like that. But I feel like late game 79 is actually better, unironically. But like between those divisions, like between those 4 divisions is, in my opinion, very hard to decide. They are very close to each other in being the top dogs right now. So I think something like that is fair, yeah. Because I still think that 5th Panzer is a bit better because of the early tempo, but you have to use it, that's the thing. And if you don't get to use it early on, I think you will lose in the long run. No, then again, you have the Mars cluster. But if your enemy is paying attention, they will just move out of the way with the very mobile TATB VICD, so yeah, whatever. 119th, being a contentious topic, I think 119th is like high A tier. But I wouldn't even put it above 9th Infantry. Because the thing is, yeah, of course, TADUs are good, UDs are even better. But if you lose them, if you don't pay attention for like 5 seconds, your enemy can kill 2 or 3 of them in very quick succession. And like side shots do exist, air spam does exist, cluster bombers do exist, artillery exists, everything like that. You have a good early game, but then again, like this can be countered. You don't have any forward deployed AA, for example. And I mean, sure, it's a very good division. Like that's why I'm putting it in A tier. But it's not unbeatable. In very good hands, it's like S tier. But in very good hands, every division here moves up like 2 or 3 categories at least. So that's not an argument. Yeah, I think that's kind of fair. Is it better? Nah, it's better than Knight. I don't know. It's just, it takes a literal second for this division to completely fall off, to not spot an AT plane or a cluster or whatever, or an ATGM that sideshots your TADU. And this is such a massive issue for this division, in my opinion. But if you have the attention and the APM and stuff like that, it's very strong, especially then towards the late game. But I think that's fine. And then 157E. Again, one of the divisions I wanted to play, actually, but then didn't have time to and didn't have the wish to. I think it's honestly decent because you can spam a lot of stuff. It's like one of those rare reserve divisions that can actually spam. And you then also still have like not high quality stuff, but tanks with enough quality. Let's put it like that. Like the T-55s with the Bastion ATGM. Said it right this time. And your air tab is okay. Like you only have the Su-25s, but they're still good, good attack aircraft. Good fighters. AA is a bit limited because you only have 1 Krug. And your infantry is obviously it's all reservists or almost all reservists. But together with military police, they should be pretty good. And just the sheer amount of shit you can put on the field. Well, I think I'm just gonna fuck it. I'm just gonna put it in low B tier. Gonna be cocky today. And then Hippie. Where are we gonna put Hippie? I don't know. Hippie is a bit. In my opinion, he's a bit too. I say it. A bit too edgy sometimes. I know. It's like easy. I don't have anything against edginess, but sometimes I feel like he's edgy just for the sake of being edgy, and I dislike that. But he's the biggest WARNO creator. He has gotten a lot of people into the game, I would guess. He has gaslit the community though into thinking that all the British divisions are shit, even though like second infantry has been one of the best divisions forever. So I'm never gonna forgive him for that. But I think I'm gonna put him. Uh, let's put him low. Nah, I don't know. Low C tier is. Let's put him in high C tier. Yeah, I think that's fair. So that's it. That's my tier list. I hope you enjoyed this unbelievably long video. um, and let me know what you think about it. What maybe I am completely wrong about some divisions and you have some good arguments for it. Maybe not. Let's see. I am happy to also learn about your opinions, especially on the divisions that I haven't played a lot or not at all. And yeah, well, thanks for watching this different video. Next one will be a gameplay video again, don't you worry. Let's see which one it will be. Not quite sure yet, but it's going to be exciting either way. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you in the next one. Until then, have a beautiful day and bye-bye.